Have you ever seen the moon blink? I'm sorry, that's a weird place to start. Let's go back a bit first. Hi, I'm Tobias. I don't go out of my way to blend in. Life just seems to have made that decision for me. A desk job, a small apartment, and my dog, Prince. Named after the artist, since he howls like he's trying to croon his own ballad. My days fall into comfortable repetition. Predictable, steady, uneventful. Exactly how I like it. There's something reassuring about knowing exactly how each day will unfold. An illusion of control wrapped in mundane routine. I wake up to Prince's impatient tail thumping against the bedroom door, trudge through the coffee-making motions, make my way to the office, sit at my desk, and guide retirees through their insurance plans. No surprises, no deviations, just the hum of normalcy. The city demands movement, but I've carved out my own rhythm. Every weekday morning, I follow the same path, walking a few blocks before descending into the subway station, the scent of damp concrete and burnt espresso clinging to the air. The train rattles through tunnels as I stare absently at the scrolling messages on my phone, eyes catching on advertisements and half-heard conversations around me. My stop arrives before I fully process the trip. Monday mornings have their own ritual. A stop at Joe's Deli before heading into the office. It's not fancy, just a corner shop with scuffed linoleum floors and a menu that hasn't changed in decades. The coffee is strong, and the bacon, egg, and cheese are exactly the same every week. Familiarity. Stability. That's why I do it. To ease myself back into the machine. To feel the gears of routine settle back into place. By the time I step into the office, it's business as usual. Papers stacked, calls waiting, quotas looming. The weekend is gone, and I'm back in motion. I work for Elder Care Solutions, selling insurance to seniors. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps me chipping away at the mountain of student debt looming over me. There's a comfort in the routine. Coaching callers through coverage plans, pacing myself through quotas, and knowing what every day will bring. Friday nights are my little escape. I head to the Fox and Crown for a drink or two and unwind. The bar is cozy, worn in the way that gave it character. The scent of aged wood and whiskey drifts through the air, mingling with the quiet hum of conversations and the occasional burst of laughter. Fred was already polishing glasses behind the counter when I slid onto my usual stool. He's tall, wears a waistcoat, a tattoo sleeve of the pets he's owned, and short black hair, and is styled in a way that says he respects himself. He always greets me with a smile and one of his terrible jokes. They're the kind of jokes you laugh at to keep from groaning too loudly. Tonight was no exception. "Hey, Toby," Fred said, sliding me my usual drink. "Why did the moon break up with the sun?" I smiled, already knowing I was about to regret asking. I don't know, Fred. Why? "Because it needed some space." He laughed loud enough to startle a woman at the other end of the bar. I forced a chuckle. It was all part of the ritual. I shook my head, took a sip of my drink, and enjoyed the moment. The bar was familiar, steady. It was my reset button, a way to decompress before stepping back in my carefully controlled life. Fred's bad jokes, my parents' weekend dinners in the suburbs, and now Abigail. All of it helped keep my life grounded. I've been seeing her for a few weeks now. She's smart, funny in a way that catches me off guard, and she makes me feel lighter somehow. We've kept things casual so far. Dinners, walks, the usual. I like her. I really do. But I can't help being cautious. I don't want to screw it up by rushing into something. Tonight was Friday the 14th, and after my second drink, I decided to head home. The air outside carried the crisp bite of an ending winter, swirling the scent of damp pavement and distant exhaust fumes. I shoved my hands into my pockets as I stepped onto the sidewalk, exhaling slowly. The warmth of the Fox and Crown faded behind me, replaced by the muted chaos of the city, such as horns bleating in the distance and snippets of conversation overlapping like an untuned symphony. My pace was steady at first, my mind drifting between mundane thoughts. Prince would demand attention the second I walked through the door. Maybe I'll order takeout instead of cooking tonight. Nothing unusual. Union Square Park was my way home on a Friday. It's one of those places that doesn't feel like it should exist in the middle of a city. Sprawling green oasis with shaded paths and pockets of stillness. At night, under the glow of the moon, it feels otherworldly. I cut through the park like I'd done 100 times before. The gravel crunched under my shoes, and the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze provided a kind of soundtrack. There was something calming about the solitude. But as I reached the wooded area, the air changed. It felt wrong. The usual city hum, the distant blare of horns, and the murmur of voices faded, but not completely. Like someone had turned the volume down on the world. Even the breeze seemed to have stopped. My footsteps slowed, and I found myself looking around, half expecting someone to jump out of the shadows. There was no one. It got darker. At first, I thought maybe the clouds were rolling in, but when I looked up, my heart stopped. The moon. It was gone. Not hidden behind clouds, not dimmed by atmospheric haze. Gone. A hollow space stretched above me, a void where something fundamental had been erased. The sky felt wrong, like it wasn't just empty, but missing something it wasn't supposed to lose. I stood there, my breath frozen in my throat, staring at the emptiness where it should have been. I blinked hard, willing my vision to fix itself. Exhaustion? An optical illusion. My heart hammered against my ribs. Then, the moon flickered back on. One moment, nothing. The next, the moon was there, sharp and unnervingly bright. Too bright. Relief hit me like a wave, but it didn't last. The moon blinked. It turned off, leaving me in a darkness so complete it felt alive, pressing against my chest, crawling over my skin. Then it flickered back, steady and serene, as though nothing had happened. What the hell? The words slipped out before I could stop them. That's odd. There was an eclipse last night, but this isn't an eclipse. This is just gone. My legs felt heavy, my chest tight. I needed to get out of the park. I ran. Not out of some logical plan, not because I thought it would fix anything. Just pure instinct. The weight of what I had just seen pressed against my ribs, making every breath sharp and uneven. The gravel crunched beneath my feet as I sprinted toward the exit, heart hammering, ears straining for any sign that the world had noticed what had just happened. Something had to be wrong. Wait. Voices? As I neared the street, the stillness of the park broke apart. A cluster of people stood near the lampposts, chatting, scrolling through their phones, waiting for cabs. The world hadn't stopped. It had continued without hesitation, completely untouched by what had just happened above it. Did any of you see that? My voice cracked as I stumbled to a stop, breathless. A woman in a denim jacket turned, blinking at me. See... what? The moon! My chest tightened. It disappeared. It was gone. Her brow furrowed, wary. You feeling all right, dude? No, I mean it. I turned to the others, desperation clawing at my throat. You must have seen it. Just now. Look at it. Heads tilted upward. The moon sat there, steady, unbothered, perfectly full and bright. It's fine, man, someone else muttered. Probably just some weird clouds, another chimed in. You on something? The denim jacket woman eyed me now, suspicion creeping into her face. Heat crawled up my neck. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't hallucinating. But no one else had seen it. No one else had felt that crushing void, that impossible absence. I'm not crazy, I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I was saying it to them or myself. I backed away, pulse still hammering. My apartment wasn't far. I just needed to get home. I needed to check the news. Someone, somewhere, had to have noticed something. The panic had settled into my bones by the time I spotted the officer near the corner, arms crossed, watching the street like nothing in the world was amiss. He was my last chance. Officer, excuse me. I practically skidded to a stop, my words tumbling over themselves. He blinked, sizing me up with the detached skepticism cops always had when dealing with someone too frantic. Something happened just now. In the park, I said, trying to steady my breath. There was a blackout. Wait, no, not a blackout, but the moon. It was gone. His brow lifted, but he stayed quiet. I swear, it blinked out of existence. Twice. You didn't see anything weird? No reports, no calls." He sniffed slightly, his stance shifting. "Did you have a drink tonight?" What? That's not. I clenched my jaw. I had a beer or two, but that's not important." "Mm-hmm." He exhaled slowly, adjusting his belt. "Look, buddy, the moon's still up there. If it disappeared, I'm pretty sure NASA will be calling in a code red." He gave me a measured look. "Maybe call it a night, huh?" "I'm not drunk." "Good news, then," he cut in smoothly. "Means you can get home safely." He nodded once, dismissing me with a kind of practiced ease meant to de-escalate situations with people who weren't worth the paperwork. I wanted to argue, to shake him, to force him to believe me, but the weight of it settled in my chest like lead. I tried to collect myself. I carried on home. My apartment building was a welcome sight, the warm light in the lobby spilling out into the street. I practically ran inside. Prince was waiting at the door, tail wagging like always. I crouched down, letting him smother me with kisses. Hey, boy, give me a second, okay?" My voice sounded shaky, even to me. I tossed my coat into the couch and sat on the floor, trying to catch my breath. What the hell just happened? The moon. It just vanished and came back. Twice. I've never heard of anything like it. Surely, someone else had to have seen it too. It had to be on the news. Springing to my feet, I grabbed the remote and flipped on the TV. The local news station was covering traffic updates and weather. No mention of the moon disappearing. I switched channels. Nothing. Again and again, I searched, but every station was broadcasting the usual drivel. My pulse quickened as I grabbed my phone, hands shaking slightly as I pulled up Twitter, Google, Reddit, anywhere someone might be talking about it. Moon flickered. No results. Did the moon disappear tonight? No results. Sudden moon blackout. Nothing. Impossible. Someone had to have noticed. Scientists, astronomers, and even casual night sky watchers. Somebody had to have seen it. I scrolled deeper. Forum after forum, conspiracy blogs, even science Q&A boards. Nothing relevant. Nothing fresh. Nothing from tonight. That can't be right. I wasn't the only one who saw it. I couldn't be. I reached for my phone, hesitating. Was this an emergency? No. The moon came back, didn't it? It wasn't like a crime had been committed. I dialed 311 instead, the city's non-emergency line. After a few rings, a woman's voice answered.
"Hello, this is 311, New York City's non-emergency helpline. My name is Mandy. How can I assist you today?"
I swallowed hard. "Hi, Mandy. My name is Tobias Hale. I'd like to report a strange incident that happened tonight in Union Square Park."
I see. Could you provide a little more detail? Are you reporting an unusual observation, or is there a safety concern?
Well, I'm not sure. The moon sort of disappeared. It vanished, then came back again. Like someone flipped a light switch. I'm surprised no one is talking about it.
The moon vanished, sir.
Yes, you must have got calls about this. I can't be the only one who saw it. There was a pause, followed by a skeptical laugh.
Sir, is this a prank call? What you're saying sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie.
No, this isn't a joke. I'm serious. The moon...
Thank you for your call, sir. I'm marking this as a prank. Please don't waste our time. Have a nice night.
I stared at the phone, heat rising to my face. A prank? How could she think I'd make this up? None of this made sense. The moon blinked, and no one saw it? No one cared? Prince was sitting by the door, doing his little barks to tell me he has to go. Oh, God! Poor boy, I've been so frantic, I almost forgot. The leash felt cool in my palm as Prince tugged ahead, eager to stretch his legs. His enthusiasm was comforting. Something in the world was still behaving exactly as it should. The city carried on around us. Storefronts glowed softly, couples strolled past, and a cab idled at the curb. Ordinary things. Normal things. But my mind kept drifting upward. The moon sat steady, as if mocking me, as if daring me to believe nothing had happened. Prince sniffed at a lamppost, tail flicking in approval before trotting ahead. I forced my breath to steady, watching him weave between the cracks in the pavement. You don't know, do you? I muttered under my breath. His ears twitched, but he didn't pause. A man passed by, holding a steaming coffee, glancing at Prince briefly before shifting his gaze past me. Nobody looked uneasy. Nobody hesitated. No one glanced up at the sky with even a fraction of doubt. I should have been relieved. But instead, I felt lonelier than ever. We arrived back at the apartment, and I quickly got on my desktop. I ended up frantically searching Google for answers. What causes a moon to disappear? Can it disappear entirely? What would happen if it did? What would happen to Earth if the moon disappeared? I found myself trawling forums, question and answer sites, and conspiracy theorists, videos, and blogs. Exhaustion hit me like a freight train. It's been a few hours, so I turn off the computer and climb into bed. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, but my mind refused to settle. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it. That hollow sky. The flicker. The absence. It didn't make sense. I should have been able to explain it away. Maybe a momentary blindness? Maybe some bizarre atmospheric trick. But it wasn't. I knew what I saw. Prince curled at my feet, his breathing slow and steady. Comforting. I shifted, grabbing my phone, hovering over the search bar again. No, not yet. The ceiling fan hummed quietly overhead. The glow of the city outside seeped through the blinds, washing the room in a dim haze. Normal things. Familiar things. But it didn't feel normal. It felt like something was watching. I turned onto my side. I pressed my face into the pillow, forced my breath to slow. Sleep finally came, but it wasn't peaceful. Morning came too quickly. My phone buzzed from the nightstand, alarm humming through the quiet of my apartment. I silenced it with a sluggish swipe, blinking against the early light seeping through the blinds. For a moment, I expected the weight in my chest to be gone, to wake up and realize everything from last night had just been some exhausted trick of the mind. But the unease was still there, sitting, waiting. Saturday, a day for me to catch up on chores and life. For the most part, Saturday was normal. Did some laundry, had a call with my mom about what time I should go over tomorrow. If I'm going to talk to them about what happened, it's in person. Abigail told me earlier this week she would be busy, but we could link up Thursday. The most important thing to mention for Saturday would be the evening. I was on the couch, flipping through channels as I continued my endless search for some kind of sign of what happened. I flipped to a news channel, and something was said that gave me hope that I wasn't alone in this.
Scientists are scrambling to explain a series of unexplained tidal anomalies recorded late last night, as coastal regions reported irregular shifts in ocean levels. While the changes appeared brief and did not result in any significant damage, researchers are puzzled by the data suggesting fluctuations in the moon's gravitational influence. Despite no visible alterations to the moon itself, some experts dismiss the readings as sensor errors, but others say the numbers don't lie. What happened above us last night? We'll hear from leading astrophysicists and oceanographers after the break.
I couldn't believe it. I sit and watch the broadcast. It wasn't very long. Sadly, not a major story. Just speculation. The consensus being that many instruments had a glitch that night. It wasn't a long event, after all. But it confirms my fears. Something did happen. No one else saw it. But instruments can't lie, right? They picked up something. I just think we all don't know what. That Sunday, I visited my parents. It's always been a haven for me. The kind of place where nothing truly bad can happen. Mom greeted me at the door with a warm hug, smelling faintly of flower and herbs. And Dad was right behind her, teasing me about how long it had been since my last visit. I couldn't bring myself to tell them I hadn't come out of a longing for company. I was here because I needed answers, even if I didn't fully understand the questions yet. Sunday dinner was a spread of roast chicken, potatoes, and green beans. Mom never missed an opportunity to cook enough food for a small army. I pushed the food around on my plate, my appetite absent. The words I needed to say kept dancing just out of reach. Finally, I just blurted it out. Something happened the other night. They both stopped, forks paused midair. Mom leaned forward, frowning. What do you mean, Toby? I explained everything. Union Square Park, the way the moon had vanished and come back, the oppressive silence, and the unshakable wrongness of it all. By the time I finished, Dad was staring at me with a furrowed brow, and Mom was gripping her glass of wine like it was keeping her grounded. "Well," Dad said after a beat, his voice careful, "I'd say it's about time you got your eyes checked. Could be something like ocular migraines." "I don't get migraines," I said, resisting the urge to roll my eyes. "It wouldn't hurt to see an optician, Toby," Mom added, her voice soft but insistent. "Just to rule anything out." I sighed. "Yeah, you have a good point. I'll set up an appointment. Lucky for me, I have health insurance through my job, and my provider has an app. I set up an appointment for this Tuesday. I spend the night searching online again and stumble upon an interview between a talk show host and a religious fanatic claiming, 'The moon is alive!' Yeah, okay, buddy." Monday was like walking through quicksand. I couldn't shake the unease clinging to me, even with the routine of the office trying its best to pull me back to normal. The headset felt heavier on my head than usual, every call dragging out longer than I wanted. It wasn't until lunch that I realized I hadn't had coffee yet. I was running on autopilot, nodding along to clients' requests and pushing papers from one side of my desk to the other. Then she called. Mrs. Ellison was one of my regulars, a sweet woman in her 70s who always asked about prints before diving into her questions about coverage plans. Her voice was familiar, comforting, but today it carried a note of panic I hadn't heard before. "Mr. Hale," she started, her words tripping over each other. "Well, I don't know who else to talk to." "Mrs. Ellison, what's wrong?" I asked, sitting up straighter. Her tone set me on edge immediately. "Oh, it's the moon," she muttered, almost to herself. "Oh, it's not right. Not right at all." My stomach dropped. I gripped the edge of my desk. "The moon? What's not right about the moon, Mrs. Ellison?" She hesitated for a moment before whispering, "They all died up there." My throat tightened. "What are you saying?" She exhaled sharply, as though even saying it made her uneasy. "Apollo 18! That's it! They go up there and there are things waiting for them, watching. Ever since I saw it, I can't stop thinking about it. What if they didn't tell us everything? What if something's out there?" I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Mrs. Ellison, you know that was just a movie, right? Fiction. None of that really happened. There was no Apollo 18 mission. It stopped at Apollo 17. "Well, I know, but it felt so real," she said, her voice trembling. "What if they're hiding something? I mean, the government doesn't tell us everything." The timing of her words was too perfect. Too close to the thing I'd seen in Union Square Park. The air around me seemed to tighten. I pushed the thought aside, forcing a smile I knew she couldn't see. "I promise you, Mrs. Ellison, the moon is fine. You're just letting a scary movie get into your head. It happens to the best of us." She sighed, the sound brittle. "Oh, you're probably right. I'm sorry for bothering you with all this. I didn't know who else to tell." "You're not bothering me," I said, softening my tone. "But try not to worry. It's just a movie. There aren't any monsters on the moon." When the call ended, I sat back in my chair, staring blankly at my computer screen. It was nothing. Just an anxious woman with an overactive imagination. But the way she'd said it, the way she'd hesitated before saying the moon wasn't right, it clawed at me, refusing to let go. On Tuesday, the optician's office was quiet and sterile, the smell of cleaning solutions hanging faintly in the air. The doctor ran every test imaginable, shining bright lights into my eyes, asking me to read rows of increasingly blurry letters, and even taking photos of my retinas. Brent sat patiently in the waiting area, a small comfort in an otherwise surreal day. "Your vision's perfect," the doctor said cheerfully, handing me the results. "Nothing to worry about." I forced a smile and thanked him, but I didn't feel reassured. If my eyes were fine, and there hadn't been any news on it, then what the hell had I seen? Tuesday slipped into Wednesday, but the unease never left. I couldn't stop replaying the blink in my mind. It seeped into my nights, twisting my sleep into fragments of nightmares and hollow, restless stretches. By the time Linda caught me yawning through lunch in the break room, I must have looked like I hadn't slept in a week. "You look exhausted," she said, pushing her salad aside to focus on me. "What's going on?" I hesitated, glancing at the other co-workers scattered around the break room. But Linda was trustworthy, Always had been. I told her everything. The moon, the park, even the operator at 311 who had dismissed me as a prank caller. To my relief, she didn't laugh. Maybe you should talk to someone about this, she said after a thoughtful pause. You know, a psychiatrist. I'll text you the name of the one I saw last year. She's good. I nodded, the weight of her suggestion settling in my chest. I didn't want to see a psychiatrist. What if they didn't believe me, just like everyone else? But what if they could help? That thought stuck with me for the rest of the day, nudging me until I finally made the call. Dr. Marlowe sat across from me, her polished desk a barrier that somehow felt more emotional than physical. The room smelled faintly of eucalyptus, the kind of scent that was supposed to calm you. It didn't. My hands were clenched together in my lap, the leather chair creaking slightly each time I shifted. So, Dr. Marlowe began, glancing up from her notepad. You're saying the moon vanished? I nodded, swallowing hard. It didn't just flicker. It was gone. Completely gone. Twice. And no one else seems to have seen it. She tilted her head, her glasses slipping slightly down her nose. Gone, she repeated, her tone neutral. And when it came back, you said it felt different. The way she said it, the faint pause before different, made me flinch. I knew what it sounded like. Crazy. But I wasn't crazy. I don't know how else to describe it, I said, my voice tight. It wasn't just the dark. It was like the darkness had weight, like it was pressing down on me. She scribbled something on her notepad, the faint scratch of her pen grating in the silence. Tobias, let's step back for a moment. Have you been under any unusual stress lately? Work, relationships, family? I forced a laugh. Doesn't everyone have stress? True, she said with a small smile. But significant stress can manifest in unexpected ways. Visual disturbances, auditory hallucinations, and even physical sensations. Have you felt particularly overwhelmed recently? Overwhelmed? I didn't even know what that meant anymore. The answer wasn't simple, but I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of saying yes. I'm fine, I said curtly. It's not stress. Her pen paused midair before she continued writing. You seem certain about what you saw, and I don't doubt that you believe it happened. But there's often a physiological explanation for these kind of experiences. Perhaps dehydration or a drop in blood sugar? I leaned forward, my voice rising despite myself. I know what I saw, Dr. Marlowe. I didn't hallucinate it. The moon blinked. Twice. Her eyes flicked to mine, calm and steady. I believe you think you saw it. That did it. I stood abruptly, the chair groaning in protest. You don't believe me. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I turned, pacing the length of the office. My heart was pounding, my breath shallow. I didn't come here for you to tell me I imagined it. I came here for answers. And I'm trying to help you find them, she said, evenly, placing her pen down. But Tobias, sometimes the answers aren't what we expect. I stopped pacing, my fists clenched. I'm not crazy. She stayed silent for a moment, watching me carefully. Then she reached for a drawer, pulling out a pad of prescription paper. I'd like you to try a low dose of this, just to help with the anxiety. Anxiety. She was calling it anxiety. Not fear, not confusion, anxiety. As if a pill could erase what I'd seen. I forced myself to take the paper, folding it neatly before slipping it into my pocket. Thanks, I said flatly, heading for the door. Tobias, she said gently, stopping me mid-step. I want you to know, this doesn't define you. Whatever you're feeling, we'll work through it. Her kindness felt hollow. I nodded once before leaving, the click of the door closing behind me sharper than I expected. Back at my apartment building, my neighbor, Mr. Feldman, caught me in the hallway. He was leaning on his cane, a familiar sight. You weren't gone long, he said casually. I stopped mid-step, frowning. What? Mr. Feldman, I was out for hours. He shook his head, his expression puzzled. Saw you come back about an hour ago. You didn't have Prince with you. My stomach dropped. That wasn't me. I was at an appointment at the time. No, it was you. I saw you with my own eyes. Walked right into your apartment. My pulse quickened, a cold sweat forming on my brow. I'm the only one with a key, I muttered. Maybe someone broke in, Mr. Feldman said, already reaching for his phone. Better call the police. The officers arrived quickly, their questions curt and dismissive. They searched the apartment, but there were no signs of forced entry and no items missing or out of place. No damage, nothing stolen, one of them asked, raising an eyebrow. No, I admitted reluctantly, the embarrassment creeping in. The older officer glanced at his partner. Hey, doesn't his name sound familiar? Yeah, the younger one said, narrowing his eyes at me. Didn't we get a call about the moon from this guy? My chest tightened. What? You making false reports now? The older one asked, his tone sharp. I'm not, I started, but he cut me off. You could be charged for this. Stop wasting our time. They left, slamming the door behind them, leaving me standing alone in my apartment. Prince whined softly from the corner, his wide eyes fixed on me. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. Something had happened here. Something I couldn't explain. Something no one believed. And it wasn't over. I wasn't sure about going back to Union Square Park. Not so soon. The thought of the woods, the gravel paths, and the oppressive silence. It all churned in the back of my mind like a storm I couldn't shake. But Abigail texted me that morning, suggesting a walk through the park and dinner afterward. It wasn't unusual for us. Our dates were always low-key, and she seemed to genuinely enjoy the simplicity. Still, I hesitated before replying. Could I really go back there? By the time evening rolled around, I had convinced myself it was fine. The park wasn't the problem. It was me. Maybe I'd overthought things, let my imagination run wild. Maybe Abigail was right when she said I needed to take my mind off it. She met me near the fountain, a smile lighting up her face. Hey, thought maybe you got cold feet. She was wearing a yellow scarf that caught the fading sunlight, her laughter cutting through the dull buzz of city life around us. Gorgeous, brunette, and a wit that keeps you on your toes. Abigail was always a pleasant part of any day. I smiled weakly. Nah, just been distracted. Distracted? That's putting it lightly. She looped her arm through mine, pulling me toward the paths. Come on, fresh air will do you some good. The park was busier than I expected, but as we ventured deeper into the wooded area, the noise faded into the background. The shadows felt heavier here, the trees closer than I remembered. My grip on Abigail's arm tightened, and she glanced up at me with concern. All right, spill, she said, stopping us mid-path. What's going on? I swallowed hard, staring at the gravel beneath my feet. She deserved to know, right? Even if it sounded insane. It's the moon. A couple of nights ago, something happened. Her brows knit together. Oh, you mean the eclipse? I took a deep breath and told her everything. The blink, the suffocating darkness, the way I felt alive. I couldn't look at her as I spoke. My voice sounded ridiculous even to me, but the words kept spilling out. When I finished, the silence was deafening. Abigail placed a hand on my arm, her grip firm but gentle. Tobias, listen. You've been under a lot of stress, right? Work, everything. Maybe you mistook something, or maybe it was just an illusion. My chest tightened. It wasn't an illusion. I believe you think you saw something, she said carefully, but it doesn't mean it was real. Stress does crazy things to people. Maybe you need a break. A vacation. Clear your head. I wanted to argue, but her logic was disarming. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was spiraling into paranoia, and a break was exactly what I needed. She led me out of the wooded area, back toward the brighter paths. Dinner at the restaurant was everything I hadn't realized I needed. Easy, lighthearted, and grounded. We sat by the window, the city alive just beyond the glass, tossing out ideas for vacations like kids dreaming of summer camp. Hawaii, Italy, even a road trip upstate. Abigail laughed when I mentioned camping. If you think I'm sleeping in a tent, you're more stressed than I thought. I grinned, feeling the tension from the past week lift like fog. The idea struck me suddenly, so clear I couldn't hold back. You should come with me. Her laughter stopped, replaced by wide eyes and an infectious smile. Seriously? You want me to come? Why not? I asked, realizing how good the idea sounded. I don't want to go alone. She leaned forward, her hands resting on mine. I'd love to. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of jokes and plans, and by the time we left, I felt like a different person. Abigail kissed me goodnight at the subway entrance, her touch soft and comforting. Promise me you'll get some rest, she said before disappearing into the crowd. The apartment was quiet when I returned, Prince waiting for me with his usual enthusiasm. I fed him, set out a fresh bowl of water, and prepared for bed. For the first time in days, the heaviness in my chest was gone. I slid under the covers, letting myself drift into the kind of sleep I hadn't felt in what seemed like weeks. I didn't hear them come. I didn't feel their presence. The air was still, silent, untouched. When I woke, I wasn't in my apartment. I caught something on my trail cam. It's trying to pretend it's a cat. I set up the trail cams after something got into my chicken coop. It wasn't a fox or a coyote. They leave messes. Bloody ones. Let me tell you, I've cleaned up more than a few of those over the years. This one, it was precise. The wire was clipped. The latch was open. And 4 of my best layers were gone without a trace. I live out here alone, so I had no one to back me up when I told the story. But I know what I saw. Or rather, what I didn't see. And I didn't see no damn coyote. You sure about that? Hayes asked, down at the general store. I know what a mess they make. Someone stole them. Who's out here stealing your hens, Carrie? I don't know. I slapped my money down on the counter. That's the point of the cameras. I'm going to see who took them. Hayes looked amused. You think that chicken thieves are going to come back around a second time? Yes. And if they don't, just give me the damn cameras. And up they went. The first few nights, I caught the usual critters. Raccoons scuttling through the underbrush, a few deer passing through, even a bobcat slinking along the tree line. But they didn't clip the wire and cleanly steal my hens, so I left them be. It was 5 nights before something else came onto the screen. At first I thought it was a mountain lion. Big, sleek, moving low to the ground with purpose. It padded right through the frame of my western-facing cam at 2:47 a.m. But something about it was off. The legs were too long. The way the skin bunched around the joints looked unnatural, like it had extra folds it didn't know what to do with. And when it turned its head slightly, the eye was all wrong. Too round, too bright, like a human eye catching the light. I convinced myself I was seeing things. A low resolution, bad angle, maybe even a trick of the light. But I kept the cameras up. The next night, it came back. This time I got a full body shot. The skin around its shoulders was peeling, like an old leather jacket stretched over something too big for it. I could see the wet sinew beneath, the way it glistened under the moon. The face was the worst part. It had the shape of a mountain lion, but the edges didn't sit right, as if it had been pulled too tight. And the mouth turned to the camera, and it smiled. Then it was gone, vanished into the darkness. I had no proof for it, but I knew in my heart whatever I'd just caught on film was the culprit. That creature. It was the one that took my hens. Just my luck that it wasn't the local kids bored and looking for something to do. Just my luck it had to be whatever that was. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the shotgun by my bed, every light in the house on. My closest neighbor is 6 miles out, and I wasn't about to call the sheriff over a mountain lion with a weird face. But I didn't shut my eyes once. It was just wrong feeling to do that. You're letting it get to you, Carrie, I exhaled. Acting just as bad as when you were drinking. Got yourself jumping at shadows. Nope. There was no chance I was tricking myself into relaxing. My eyes were still open when the dawn came. The night after that, the camera by my coop caught it standing on 2 legs. It was blurry, sure, but the shape was unmistakable. It had the hind legs of a big cat, but its torso was wrong. Too long, too thin. The skin had sloughed off in places, leaving exposed ribs and raw muscle. The face. It wasn't a cat's anymore. Does that make sense? It still had the skull of a cat, the ears, the fur, but the fur was sort of slipping back like a hood, and the muzzle had been twisted up somehow or bent down, or just car hit broken in a way that let the smile get wider, the mouth gaping open in a way no animals should. And the eyes. No doubt about it. Human. It looked at the camera again, and then I watched as it took its hands and snapped the chicken wire with its bare hands. I ran out at dawn, yanked out every camera, and dumped them in the shed. I figured if I ignored it, it would go away. Childish? Sure. But what else could I do? Go out there and face it? Just the thought had me shaking in my boots. So I told myself I was seeing things. That I had been awake too long, looking for something that wasn't there. This morning, I found the last remaining trail cam sitting on my front porch. I know I didn't put it there. I hadn't even looked at the footage yet. My hand shook as I clicked through the files. The final image was taken at 3:12 a.m. The creature was no longer walking through the woods. It was standing right in front of the camera, too close, its torn skin hanging in strips. Its mouth was open wide, its lips peeled back, revealing rows of jagged, uneven teeth. And its eyes. They were staring right into the lens. Into me. Then, in the last frame, it screamed. I don't remember throwing the camera. I don't remember running back inside. But I remember the sound. It wasn't caught on video, but I heard it. A high, keening wail, like metal tearing, like something forcing its way through flesh that was never meant to hold it. I haven't left the house since. I don't know what it wants, but I know one thing. It's watching me now. And hands that can snap wire can easily figure out how to open a flimsy wooden door. And that was I Caught Something on My Trail Cam. It's Trying to Pretend It's a Cat by Abalone. Abalone tea? Abalone tea? If it's a bologna tea, that's bologna and tea. That don't sound. I don't think I would try that. I'm happy for you to correct me though. I apologize for butchering your name. So this story is it's another example of short but sweet, right? Which I think those are great because they're bite sized, they're easier to acquire, they're easier to read. They're just so good, especially when it hits just right. So this one, it immediately made me think of like some of Shapeshifters, the first thing I thought. But then as the story kind of went on, very quickly I was like, oh, it's more like a skinwalker. But this isn't like a normal skinwalker because behind the idea of a skinwalker is that they can shapeshift essentially into animal forms, but not in like a grotesque way, not like lycanthropy and weird stretching of skin and cracking bones and shit like that, right? Because I was also thinking like maybe a werewolfy type thing as well. That's a possibility. Which the transformation aspects sound kind of like it, but it's not like a regular transformation. This sounds like it is entirely up to the person, which does sound more like a shapeshifter, but with the more horrific transformation aspects. Which then it's creepy, it's weird, it's horrific. And the details in it are so good. It also makes me think of just like a person wearing like a kind of a costume, but this clearly isn't a normal costume. That this whole thing sounds horrific and wrong, right? And that's what makes it so much creepier and better. It's not just a dude in a costume. It's not just a skinwalker. I mean, it could be a skinwalker. For all we know, it's just a more horrified version of a skinwalker, which is kind of awesome when you really think about it. But also, yet again, we don't have full answers. We don't know exactly what's going on. Was it a human first? Was it a creature first? Did some horrific thing happen? Is it an experiment gone wrong? We don't know. We don't know any of this information. And sadly, I'd like to read a little bit more if there's any more of this kind of story, because I think it's so strange. I think it's so strange. I think it's so creepy. It's so good. Just the idea that you set up some cameras. Oh, typical wildlife. Nothing wrong. And then you see that. Like I know for me, I would be probably pretty scared. I'm not gonna lie. But I would also be incredibly adamant on finding out as much as I could, getting as much information out of it as I possibly could, right? And I'm not talking like, oh, capture and interrogate it, because who knows if it fucking talks. It seems smart enough to be able to do certain things, and the fact that it, instead of just destroying the trail camera, popped it on like the front porch. Like it seems aware enough, so it must be quite human in a way to even know that oh, this is an electronic device, instead of just smashing this thing that creeps me out and is weird and strange and maybe makes noises. I'm gonna dismantle it. Well, more like I'm just gonna unplug it and I'm gonna pop it on a porch. Like that's distinct, right? That's because then if it's a person fucking with you, I mean, I suppose it's more like maybe it's more like a feral human type thing, right? I don't know exactly what's up with the costume thing then, because it's not like a regular costume where it's like, oh wow, I've got a silly costume that I put on, or even like a furry realistic costume, right? Which I know those can exist. I mean, obviously one of the earlier stories I covered was about the dude in the dog costume, which brought me back to the Japanese guy who wore. I mean, it's not like the most realistic dog costume, but you know what I mean. Like if you caught it on a, say, not super high res camera, you might believe it was, right? So, I don't know. This doesn't feel like it's specifically targeting Carrie. It feels like it's just trying to survive. And, I'm not going to say there's a level of maliciousness going on. It does sound like it's just trying to, eat and survive. And obviously it can't work a regular job. Probably doesn't do that kind of stuff if it is feral to an extent, or yet again just a person who doesn't decide to do this. So more like a wildling or something like that. I'm not sure. It does make my mind race, and I love that. I love that so much. This story is, God, it's super cool. Yet again, it makes me think of skinwalkers. I suppose maybe Wendigo in a way, but not fully Wendigo, because. I mean, that's that, especially because Wendigos, in some cases, not in all cases, more eat people compared to animals and stuff like that. I don't know. Creepy, weird. Creepy freaking weird. Oh, God, what movies and stuff this make me think of? It's mainly found footage stuff, because I guess that's kind of what's going on here with the camera situation, because it's not like she's able to physically go see this creature, right? She sees it through the medium of videos and images. And so I guess that immediately makes me think of things like, Cloverfield is one to kind of mention, but it's just because it's horrors that you don't fully understand, and nor do you properly see, even though she gets to properly see them in the story, so not the best example. Paranormal Activity, maybe, but I mean, that's more to deal with, obviously, ghost activity, but yet again, you have cameras set around a specific place in order to capture some activity of something, right? And horrific things happen. So that's kind of the only real link when it comes to that. I mean, yet again, other found footages could be like a VHS, which isn't in the same kind of a field, because those are tapes. And but the good thing about those tapes is that there are all kinds of horrors on each different tape, which makes it really interesting. I guess Blair Witch Project, but that yet again is I suppose that's maybe a little closer, because they're attempting to try to find, the Blair Witch. That's the point of the movie. It's the project to find the Blair Witch, based on the stories and the rumors and everything. And it's the two guys and the girl that go out and find her, and basically they'll end up dying. I don't really remember if they caught any evidence of her either. So still, yeah, that's the problem with found footage, right? Is they all have this kind of idea of like, you're finding out a story after it's already happened, which I love that idea. So the story's going to happen no matter what. You don't really get any say. Not that you really do in movies and stuff anyway, but you know what I mean. I guess maybe one that maybe The Descent. I don't know. That's not exactly found footage. I don't know. There's not really any fantastic examples that come to the top of my head when it comes to horrific creature thing like that. I mean, I guess yet again, it's just talking about the whole genre of horror. But there's not a whole lot when it comes to Skinwalker things, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, you've got like shows like Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, which I really like. But yet again, a lot of the stuff they do is to kind of, record the activity that's going on that is bizarre and difficult to explain, and try to explain it. They're trying to debunk certain things. They're trying to but it's mainly to do with UAPs and the idea of like this potential portal they found, which maybe connects two different points, maybe like a wormhole in a way, and then in another way, it sometimes by messing with the portal space, it triggers UAP activity. Interesting, but yet again, not exactly connected. So there's a lot of loose connections. It makes me think of, which is kind of okay. It's hard to, I don't know. I could have swore I would have seen maybe a Skinwalker movie, but the more I really think about it, I don't really know of any. Off the top of my head, I mean, I might have seen some ages ago, but I'm in my 30s now, and I've seen a lot of movies over the years. And after a while, you don't remember them all, right? You just don't. Sadly, I remember a lot of them, but I don't remember all of them. Not off the top of my head. Not without seeing, so we got a reminder about it anyway. Yeah, but Secret Skinwalker Ranch was a TV show. Yet again, doesn't really have anything to do with Skinwalker. It's just the ranch that they're on is called Skinwalker Ranch because over the years, that's just kind of the name that stuck. Which, before all the scientific activity went on there were the stories of, like, the Shermans and everything. Like, there was a level of Skinwalker activity, quote-unquote, that was recorded there. Mainly through, like, word of mouth and stories and stuff like that. Oh, excuse me. So rude. But yet again, Skinwalker activity is mainly in the Midwest, if I recall correctly. Maybe the north Midwest of United States is... because it's definitely around like Utah, for example, the Uinta Basin kind of area, based on the few shows and stuff that I've seen about that kind of stuff. Let me know what this made you think of, because I'm really curious to see other things, if there may be stuff that I should be more aware of, because I think just the description of this thing is what really kind of gets me. I love it. I love it so much. It's horrific, right? Horrific in a great way. This has been it's been super fun. Let me know down in the comments below, what it made you think of, or how you feel. Maybe there's like certain stories you want me to specifically try to cover. Let me know. All feedback is appreciated, and I really appreciate you for taking the time to making it this far. I've been Nate at Night. This has been super fun. Thank you very much again, Abalone Tea, or Abalone Tea. I don't know however you want to be pronounced. I'm so sorry. I am a dumbass. And take care out there. Thanks so much. Long ago, I was a harvester for a cult. One night, the people we took weren't what they seemed. My task was always relatively simple. Scout the isolated rows provided by Mother and Father, M&F. Set the bait, sedate, and abduct. Typically, I would use roadkill, a dead kangaroo or a dog, or really anything big enough to draw attention. Sometimes I would gore it up a bit to make it more enticing. It usually worked fine. The process of reprogramming back at home base was typically long and always barbaric. M&F were always insistent on using the limits of the subject's capacity to endure pain as their means of indoctrination, and it worked. People break a lot easier than you'd think when they're isolated in unknown territory and pushed to their limits. We were based high and deep in the hills, far enough from suburbs that nobody would know they're gone, or even where they'd go missing, but close enough that we got people coming through. Granted, it wasn't very frequent. But that's how we liked it. No need to build our numbers up too fast and raise any red flags to the area we were in. I spent many of my working nights just sitting and waiting, chatting to my brother and hoping we get some action. This night in particular was warm and still. The roadkill we had was a fully grown kangaroo we found that had been presumably hit by a car a little further towards the nearest town. It was perfect bait. All we needed was for them to stop and get out for about a minute, and we'd have them. My brother would use a dart gun that was laced with a strong sedative. One to the neck for each of them, and they were incapacitated within seconds. It was always clean and simple. One of us would take their car and ditch it in one of many spots we scouted previously, while the other transported them back to home base in the truck and then come back to pick the other up. It was clockwork. We'd been in it for years. We grew up in it. It was all we knew. We were good at what we did. M&F had most of the local PD in their pockets, so we didn't really need to worry, but still had to be very cautious as not to draw attention. There's only so much leeway the police could give before having to actually do their job, so discretion was paramount. It was part of the agreement we had. There was good money in trafficking people, which we'd do on a rotation. One for the cult, one to sell. It kept us afloat for as long as I'd been alive. We had what looked to be tourists driving along the road, probably lost or some such, and so we went to work. We waited for them to stop and gaze at the kangaroo we had placed for them, and brother wasted no time. His accuracy was incredible. In the dark of night, and from quite a few meters away, he'd always manage to get them right on the neck, pinpoint accurate. They didn't even know it happened before they passed out. One minute they're inspecting a dead Roo, and the next they'll be awoken by M&F as they begin the ritual. Tonight was different, though. The ritual began as it normally did, father chanting and mother poking them with hot needles. She knew every specific nerve point to cause the most pain, and they were screaming, as they often did. Father began to bleed them into a cup and feed them. It was all going to plan. Then the woman's eyes turned black. Pitch black. Not the kind of black you get with dilated pupils from adrenaline and fear. Her eyes were entirely the darkest shade of black I'd ever seen. Her blood that she'd been fed was dripping from her mouth. She began to growl, and with seemingly renewed strength, she fought against the chain she was tied up in. I was nervous. We hadn't seen this before. The more it went on, the less human she appeared, and the husband was just giggling to himself. "You're all fucked! You're all fucked!" he repeated as she grew more frantic. Father was beside himself with excitement. What an asset this thing could be for us. A creature not known to any recorded history at the disposal of our humble cult of worship. An asset he truly believed she could be turned, that she could be tamed. It all happened so fast. The chain snapping free as she lunged at him, scratching and biting his face with a feverish and animalistic delight, tearing and ripping until Father's face was nothing but loose meat. His skull had become visible. Most of us fled. The husband was laughing manically. "You're all fucked. I told you. I told you. Fucked, fucked, fucked." She lunged from person to person, snapping one's neck, slashing the other with her fingernails. I barely managed to get to the truck in time. She had wiped out everybody. Every last one. I sped off and saw her barreling towards me on all fours, before seemingly losing interest and turning around so fast I could barely comprehend it. I didn't stop driving. I drove for miles. I took to the highway and didn't stop until I was in the next state over. I've never been able to make sense of what she was, what had happened. Maybe I'd gone mad. I don't know. It all feels like a dream now. It was 15 years ago. There were never reports of the massacre in any news articles. Like it never happened. I mourned mother and father, my brothers and sisters. I didn't know how to even live for many years. That family was all I knew. Whatever it was, I pray to whatever gods that will themselves to listen that I never encounter it again. But in the back of my mind, it feels like she's watching, stalking, waiting from afar. Never did I think I'd be so desperately wishing to be in a state of unfounded paranoia. And that was long ago. I was a harvester for a cult. One night the people we took weren't what they seemed. By Skelefella. I love that name. It's just rolls off the tongue so well. Fantastic. So, we're going to get the critique out the way first, so that way we can get into the fun gushing stuff. A whole lot of run-on sentences. A whole lot of commas. Gotta tidy up some of the grammar. That's pretty much it. Anyway, let's talk about the cool shit. So, I've always enjoyed a story about cults, cult activities, whether it be in a text format, whether it be a real-world documentary, for example. I think the idea of a cult is obviously, it's tragic, it's horrifying, it's, it can really mess up people's lives. Like, there's no denying that. The idea of a cult is bad. But, yet again, makes for a great horror story so long as it's not a real one, right? Because then it's like... It's fucking awful. I thought this was quite good because, yet again, it's not like it's just cult activity and something goes wrong, even though that is basically what happens. It's a very short and sweet story about, one of the people who works for the cult, who naturally, is indoctrinated. They follow whatever they're told to do, as cult activity is. And I found it really weird that, just casually, it's like, oh yeah, we'll put roadkill on the road to attract people to check it out, and that's how we abduct them. I think there's a pretty smart mentality to that. But just casually, like, kangaroo roadkill. And I was like, well, I mean, first off, so now I'm pretty sure they're in Australia, and that's quite interesting. Which I think there was a super weird movie, I think it was called Wolf Creek, maybe? That was quite cool, about somebody abducting people in Australia. And that was quite horrific. So maybe think of that. But, I mean, I suppose it's like the same thing as like a deer, right? Because deer are quite big, But if they get hit by a car, they they don't always die, but, most times they die. So I guess the same logic could be applied to kangaroos. I just thought it was kind of weird because I guess I never really thought about a kangaroo as roadkill, but I guess the logic does work. So I've kind of answered my own question there. Yeah, no, weird, interesting, great, horrifying. The methodology in this, it makes a level of sense. The fact that they have the police under their thumb so they can do most things and get away with it is bizarre. But yet again, it works in the story's favor. But let's talk about what's up with the woman, right? What's up with the dude's wife that they abduct to crazy black eyes and ferocious attacking and stuff like that. Almost like she's gone feral or possessed or something like that, or she's not entirely human, right? I don't know any specific folklore or mythology when it comes to Australia, New Zealand, areas like that. But if there are maybe some that I should be more aware of, let me know down in the comments below, because I'm really curious as to what those kind of explanations might be, because otherwise for me it makes me think of perhaps some kind of a Wendigo, but it also sounds like she's got like ferocious nails, so a little bit more like an animalistic transformation is what it kind of really sounds like. But that's just me. I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below, because I'm really curious if people might have a better idea of what is going on here. I'd like some information, and I could just look into it myself, but it allows a good level of interaction between you and me, and I think that's great. And I think it's really great. So things that this made me think of. Immediately, the countless documentaries about real world cults over the years, which there's tons of them. You can find them on pretty much every popular streaming platform out there. The immediate ones that come to mind are Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey. I think Waco. Because that was kind of a culty activity as well, wasn't it? Wild Wild Country. I found that to be quite an interesting story, especially the fact that they kind of basically wage war with an American town. That was quite funny. Well, not funny, but you know what I mean. God, what was the other one? Nexium? I think that was another one that really came to mind immediately. But that's because I recently watched that one in the past few months with my partner Jenny. She introduced me to that one. But it just reminds me that cults come in many flavors and fashions, right? But ultimately, a lot of their methodology kind of is the same, right? The point is they are attempting to dominate the minds of somebody, so much so that they have complete control over that person, right? Doesn't matter how they do that, but the point is that is what they're trying to do. Because if they have complete and utter control over a person, well, you can get them to do essentially whatever, can't you? And it's horrifying. It is horrifying. But it's very interesting that it's happened so many times over the years. Another thing it made me think of, which this is super obscure to some of you, is a video game, funnily enough, called Harvester. And this is it's a 1996 point-and-click adventure game. It's super strange. It's super weird. It's really cool, though, but it literally is about, basically, you wake up in this super bizarre town where everybody's a bit weird and strange. And they're talking about, like, this grand event that's going to happen and stuff like that. And basically, you work your way into this lodge. And, funnily enough, the whole point is it's a cult, right? That they're all in a cult. And they're trying to indoctrinate you to join the cult. Very funny that it all ties in together. And the last thing that I want to bring up about Harvester is, funnily enough, in a D&D game that I'm currently play pretty much once or twice, well, a couple of times a month on a Saturday, usually through my buddy DM Josh. Funnily enough, in that game, I play a Warforged, and his name is Harvester. And there's a reason for that. And part of his backstory that we first went with, which was part of the plan, was he was one of his earliest memories that he can properly remember is working on a farm, and he would harvest the crops. So he was a harvester. There is a little bit more to it than that, but I'm not gonna reveal all that shit, because in case anybody's watching this that is in that game, I don't want them to know the full details behind all that just yet. But yeah, just thought I'd kind of point that out. It's really funny how the word harvester has a lot of interesting meaning, especially to me. Well, let me know down in the comments below what this made you think of, whether it be TV show, documentary, movie, books, comics, maybe a game. Let me know. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. This has been it's been a fantastic little read. I've certainly enjoyed it, and I sure hope you have too. This has been Nate at Night, and we'll see you next time. Take care out there. I found a toy chest in my attic. Inside was a name I'd forgotten. My parents moved out of my childhood home a few months ago. In a generous gesture, they let me buy it from them. It's an old place. Outdated fixtures, old plumbing, wiring in parts of the ceiling, but it was familiar. I felt comfortable. They didn't leave me much. A couple of old wingback chairs, some pots and pans in the kitchen. That's why when I found the wooden toy chest in the attic, I didn't think much of it. Then I saw the shoebox. It was at the bottom of the chest, with a name scribbled across the top in childish handwriting. Benny. The name hit something at the back of my brain. Familiar, but not quite present. I opened the box and spread the contents out across the attic floor. First, there was an index card. The rules. 1. Don't tell Mom and Dad. 2. He doesn't like the closet. 3. Always come back after hide and seek. Strange. It felt like I should have known what it meant. Like something I only half remembered. There were also crayon drawings. Stick figures of me and another boy. One with a round head and a big smile. But I don't remember having any friends named Benny. Not in school. Not ever. I didn't think much more of it at the time, and I put everything back. But then the house started to change. At first it was just sounds. Not occasional creaks and groans either. I heard the patter of footsteps in the hallway. Wheels rolling across the attic floor. Once, I swear, I heard a wind-up chime, like some old toy. I told myself it was nothing. But sometimes I'd get up and check around the house, just to be sure. But I never found anything. Then came the shadows. Shadows that didn't belong to me or anyone else. Things I'd catch in my peripheral vision. Just a flicker. Like someone was creeping around. Someone watching. It got worse over the next few weeks. Eventually, for my own sanity, I started talking to whatever the hell it was. At first, I tried to keep it light. Even funny. Yeah, real cute. I know you're messing with me. I knew it was probably just my imagination, but deep down, something felt off. Then it got worse. I'd be making dinner and hear it. A giggle. A kid's giggle. Close enough that I could sense it nearby. That's when I snapped. Okay, you little motherfucker, I've had enough. I probably needed help. But I wasn't crazy. I wasn't seeing things. I knew something was wrong. I needed something I knew. Something normal to me. So I called my mom. Mom, how's the new place? Great. Your dad and I are happy. Couldn't ask for nicer neighbors. How's the old house? It's something. What do you mean, sweetie? Is it not what you thought? I don't know, Ma. Strange things are happening. Oh, well, once in a while you'd hear the occasional rumble here and there. Mom, who in the hell was Benny? There was a pause, then a nervous laugh. Benny? Sweetie, don't you remember your own imaginary friend? My stomach sunk. Of course. It all made perfect sense now. Benny was the friend I'd never really had, but I made real. And the worst part? I forgot him. Yeah, I remember now, Mom. Just a passing thought. Love you, gotta go. I ended the call and sank into my armchair, heart racing. Benny. How did I forget? Then I heard it. A terrible crash upstairs. I ran up the steps and threw open the attic door. It was freezing. I could see my own breath. I walked inside, looked around. I walked inside, looking around. That's when I saw it. The Scrabble box had fallen to the floor. But the noise I heard, it was loud. Too loud. There was no way it could have just been that. Then I looked down. The tiles were arranged on the floor neatly. You promised. My throat closed. I wasn't alone. Benny? The jack of the box started winding. Where the hell was it? I never owned one. I hated those things as a kid. Then I heard it. A whisper. Barely audible. Ollie, ollie, oxen free. I couldn't move. My legs were jello. Then it hit me. Hide and seek. That was our game all those years ago. I'd never come back. I had broken the third rule. Always come back after hide and seek. Benny, if that's you, I'm sorry, buddy. It's been a long time, I know. The floor gave out beneath me and I hit the ground hard. My vision was blurred. It took me a second to realize where I was. The closet. He put me in the closet. That's where I am now. Writing this, waiting. My leg's broken. I can't move. I've been here for hours. I didn't follow the rules. I never came back. And now? Now Benny's not letting me out. And that was I Found a Toy Chest in My Attic. Inside was a name I'd forgotten. By Tropical Rainforest. Awesome. Great name. Classic. Simple. So this story makes me think of a couple of different things, really. There's always the weird idea of, like, creepy kids games gone wrong, right? I think that's always a nice, weird storytelling element, in my opinion. It also makes me think, especially because there's rules to follow in this charade they have, if you will. The Benny has 3 rules, right? And that immediately makes me think of the Dear David Twitter story that I covered ages ago, where yet again there's rules to follow, rules were not followed, consequences ensue, and it's funny. Except the difference is with Dear David, it was with a child who was dead, right? So like I guess an evil spirit fucking with Adam, which was quite interesting. It was it certainly led to a really cool story in my opinion. Whereas in this one, it's an imaginary friend, which you would think, what could an imaginary friend do if you just piss them off? Like, they're not real. But it's different because this isn't the first time I've heard of a situation where a child has an imaginary friend, and it turns out that maybe they're not so imaginary. Maybe they are a real something, right? Whether it be a ghost, a vengeful spirit, entity, creature, whatever. Yeah, very much in that kind of a vein. So that's immediately what I'm thinking here, with the fact that Benny is maybe more than just imaginary. And it's so interesting because so even the parents know that, oh, this was your imaginary friend as a kid, blah blah blah. Nothing weird. They didn't think anything else about it, which is completely understandable in my opinion. Completely understandable. Of course, kids gonna have imaginary friends. They're gonna play silly games and shit like that. Kids are gonna be kids, man. That's totally normal. And so he's got this shoebox, from the years when he was a kid, and he played with Benny and everything, and he didn't end up following the rules, and that's what ended up in this weird situation. We really need to break down some certain things, though. So I like the fact that Benny is attached maybe to this house, or maybe just to the specific areas of the house or something like that. We're not entirely sure how he works, because yet again, we don't know. We don't really get to see Benny. We don't really understand anything else about him besides the fact that it was a imaginary friend, which, with a bit more descriptors, maybe we could kind of piece together a little bit more of what he is, but, we have to work with what we got. And I think what's really interesting, right, is around the end, the fact that, he finds a Jack-in-the-Box. I don't know a Jack-in-the-Box. I hate those things. Why would that be here? So somehow Benny has brought something to this house, right? And it may just be some manifestation capabilities that he's got, or maybe he could teleport items. We don't know. Maybe he stole it. Maybe he can leave the house. Maybe he went and he's literally stole something. We don't exactly know. But either way, he got a hold of something that the main character does not like. Clearly as a means to begin the pranking and torturing of our OC, right? Or our MC. OC? I don't know. Protagonist, better word. So much so that he has this kind of power to be able to, I suppose, lock him away as though he were a toy, right? And also break his legs and lock him in a closet. Like, it's pretty hardcore. I suppose it's one way to not lose your friend forever, taking on a real misery vibe there. A real misery vibe, which is definitely not how that went. But there was the breaking of limbs, so that's the parallel there. Is Benny gonna kill him? I don't know. I feel like that would be the next evolution of his plan, right? Is that inevitably he's gonna kill this person, and that maybe they can play forever in the afterlife or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. That's what I would think if it is meant to be some kind of a vengeful child like imaginary friend spirit thing. But I don't know. I don't know. But I love that. I love the fact that I don't know. I love the fact that it's hard to kind of. I mean, there's a lot of potential and possibilities, right? And I think that's what makes this super cool. Besides the fact that it's creepy children stuff. I mean, that's just good in and of itself, isn't it? So, Tropical Rainforest, thank you. This story's great. And again, things it made me think of were actually the Dear David Twitter story. I'll pop a link, maybe a little info card somewhere up here. I think they appear. Little links if you wanna check that out if you haven't already. Which is just a crazy story, crazy freaking good story. Haven't heard the movie was good. Don't know if the movie's any good. I heard that was really bad, which is pretty funny. I'll inevitably watch it. And maybe I'll even do a little review. That'd be quite fun. I'd enjoy doing that. Do you want to see me review the Dear David movie? I'll do it. You let me know. Let me know down in the comments below. What else does this make me think of? I suppose anything else that has like children horrific things in it, like twisted stuff like that, which could be a lot of horror movies. I think it really depends, isn't it? So I think Skinamarink. I haven't seen it. I know, shocker, right? I haven't seen Skinamarink. Sorry, my camera moves. I haven't seen Skinamarink, and that one's supposed to have like scary elements pertaining to children. So I guess there is that connection. I always see they've always got the image of like the toy phone thing. I remember that toy phone as a child growing up. I didn't ever have one, but I didn't have that one. I must have had other toys. I mean, obviously as a kid growing up, of course we had toys. I just don't remember all of them. I remember a wooden train set though. I do remember having a little wooden train set. They had like the magnets. I don't know if you guys remember any of those. I'll have to see if I can find a picture. I do remember that. And obviously like a PlayStation 1 and crap like that. Of course, Nintendo 64. God, yeah, some good times as a kid. We had all kinds of cool shit really growing up. Anything else that specifically makes me think of? It's tricky, isn't it? Because yet again, it could make you think of things like it, but I think the rules thing is what makes it a little bit more interesting. So in which case, it could potentially make me think of like Beetlejuice or anything else that has rules per se. Trapped in a Closet. I mean, there's plenty of jokes we can make about that, but that'd be inappropriate. We're not going to do that. Let me know what it made you think of down in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your feedback and your ideas and stuff. Did you enjoy the story? I know I did. This has been Nate at Night, and I will see you for whatever is next. Take care out there. I've been stuck driving in an endless highway tunnel for 10 hours. Somehow I found a spot in the tunnel with enough service to, hopefully, get this post out. I'm holding on to this singular bar for dear life. My situation is growing dire. I'm running out of gas, which also means I won't be able to charge my phone. The only food I have is a bag of Sour Patch Kids, a box of Cheez-Its, 2 Red Bulls, and about a half gallon of water. Let me explain what's going on. I'm a traveler. Always have been. I'm used to cross-country road trips. I'm located in the United States, driving for hours through the night, without stopping, except to use the restroom or grab a quick meal. I'm currently making the trek from Los Angeles to Chicago. I've done this trip before, but I took Route 66 that time, for the hell of it. This time, I opted to take the interstates, a shorter ride in a way I haven't taken before. This way cuts through the middle of the country, passing through Colorado and Nebraska and Iowa. The drive was going normal. Lots of nothingness. I'm used to going hours without seeing any other cars or people when I'm driving out here. By the time I'm writing this, I've been driving for close to 3 days. Last night, I slept in a Walmart parking lot somewhere in Colorado. I think Frisco? I drove for over 14 hours straight yesterday, only stopping a couple of times at gas stations to grab snacks, take a piss, and refuel. I grabbed dinner at a Taco Bell at like midnight before I crashed. I'm recounting every detail because I'm hoping that, maybe, this whole thing could be explained away by a lack of sleep and nutrition. I know I should be eating and sleeping more, but I just don't think about it when I'm on the road. I don't think about anything. That's why I love these trips so much. Anyways, I woke up this morning at the crack of dawn, like 6 a.m. in Colorado, which is 5 a.m. my time, and continued on my way. I wanted to make good time. Not for any reason, it's not like I had plans. I just wanted to see how quickly I could drive so far. I grabbed breakfast at a local cafe, a bagel and a coffee, filled up on gas, grabbed some Red Bulls, some beef jerky, and a gallon of water. Then I headed out. I don't think I stopped driving until like 6 hours in, when I realized I was going to piss myself from all the energy drinks I chugged. I tend to space out until it's nearly too late. I stopped at the first gas station I saw. 2 measly gas pumps and a run-down old wooden shack for a convenience store. I was somewhere coming up on Kearney, Nebraska, and I had endured another time change, so it was now around 2 p.m. I walked inside and the bell on the door jingled. The man at the cash register jumped, startled by the first sign of life other than his own cigarette-soaked breaths. I asked him if they had a restroom, and he grinned. "There's a bucket out back, princess," he said, stifling a chuckle. I stared at him blankly, waiting for a punchline. He sighed and handed me a tarnished key attached to a piece of wood, which had been roughly etched with "Pisser." He pointed to a door at the far end of the shack. I did my business, though the toilet looked like it hadn't been cleaned since before I was born, and returned the key to the man at the register, who I now noticed had a name tag that read Gus. I turned to leave, but before I could, Gus cleared his throat and asked me, "Where you headed?" I told him Chicago, and he said, "What for?" I told him I didn't really know. "Just to go, I guess." His eyes lingered on me for a moment, almost an uncomfortable amount of time. Then he quickly glanced about the shack before he said, "Well, if you could spare a couple hours, I know of a bitchin' scenic route through the peaks a bit further north." He went on to tell me that this route was only really known to locals, winding through Nebraskan peaks with plenty of lookouts over whatever the hell is in Nebraska. Historically home to booze-filled high school parties, romantic legal camping rendezvous, and of course, its fair share of local folklore legends. Like the classic teen lovers murdered during a makeout session, the killer was never caught type shit. It's not like his story really piqued my interest. It's the same shit you hear about every random scenic route and lookout in every random small town. But that's exactly why I chose to embark upon Gus's route. I'm always so curious to explore the places that locals know and adore in all of the random small towns I wind up in along my travels. It makes me realize how connected we really are. No matter where we are in the world, we live out these parallel lives, experiencing emotions and struggles that so many other people also experience, in their own ways. I love finding these spots. I love feeling connected with something. Anything. He gave me crude directions, but it seemed simple enough. Continue up Interstate 80 for an hour or two longer until I see a turnoff, a dirt road to my left. Can't miss it. That'll take me where I need to go, according to Gus. I figured that if I didn't see the turnoff, I'd just take the loss. After our conversation, I decided to purchase some snacks. Sour Patch Kids, Cheez-Its, and 2 more Red Bulls, and a pack of menthol cigarettes. I filled up on gas before leaving. I wasn't sure when the next gas station would be, especially if I found Gus's route, and I continued on my way. I lit a cigarette as I began this next leg of my journey. My mother would kill me for smoking in my car. She'd kill me for a lot of the shit I do when I take these trips. One thing I started to learn is that Nebraska is full of corn and wheat. In all directions, all I could see were miles and miles of farmland, stalks waving in the wind like a sorry excuse for an ocean. Interstate 80 was surrounded, crops creeping onto the shoulders of the road, refusing to adhere to man-made perimeters. The stalks grew high above my SUV, making it so I could see nothing beyond the confines of my weedy, corny prison. I'd been driving for about 2 hours since the gas station when I saw it, a break in the crops to my left. Gus was right. I couldn't miss it. The dirt road stood out like a beacon, a sudden relief from my engulfment. I didn't feel any hesitation to take the path. In fact, I was excited that I had actually stumbled across it. As I made the turn, I could almost feel the stories, the experiences of the people who had made this turn before me. Every local has their spots. In every big city, every small town, every single person has a place that is special to them. A coffee shop, a hiking trail, a park. Somewhere they have left pieces of themselves. I want to leave pieces of myself everywhere. The dirt road cut through the fields, heading north. Far ahead of me, I could see a small range of peaks and hills. Nothing compared to California's mountain ranges, but at least it wasn't flat, like everywhere else is out here. After driving through more and more miles of farmland, eventually I started to ascend. The road curved to my right at the base of the closest peak, turned from dirt into old, battered pavement, and I began a twisty, turny ride up and up. As I got higher up the peak, I could see what Gus was talking about. The views were incredible. Plots of farmland, a quilt that covered the earth in greens and tans and yellows. I lit another cigarette and slowly continued my drive. I stopped at a couple of lookouts, just random turnoffs on the side of the road, taking in my surroundings. You can find beauty in anything if you try, even Nebraskan wheat fields. I felt like a local. The road was nothing special, similar to most mountain roads I've taken before. Nothing stood out really, besides some empty bottles and beer cans in the brush. I didn't see a single other person for the entirety of my drive, which I enjoyed. It was just me and the woods and the road. Then I entered the tunnel. I didn't think anything of it. Plenty of mountain roads cut through portions of the mountain itself, causing you to drive through a manufactured hole in the rock. I used to play a game as a kid where I'd hold my breath until we made it through to the other side. I'm glad I didn't try to hold my breath this time. I immediately noticed the tunnel was long. I couldn't see any light coming from the other end. The dirty orange bulbs hanging from the ceiling every 10 feet or so didn't make much of a difference in the pitch black. I drove for about 30 minutes, thinking to myself that this may be the longest tunnel I've ever driven through. Then the lights started diminishing. They began popping up every 30 feet, then every 50 feet, then every 100 feet, then there were none. I drove through the darkness for another 45 minutes, my headlights leading the way. I've been in the tunnel for over an hour now. It was close to 8 p.m. and I didn't see any signs of the exit. I decided to turn around. I didn't like being swallowed by darkness. The rock walls were closing in on me, reigniting my claustrophobic fears that consumed me as a child. I drove for an hour or so back the direction I came. The lights should have started coming back by now, but they didn't. No orange bulbs. I drove for another hour, and another. Almost 3 hours driving back the way I came, and I never made it back to the tunnel's entrance. I was never greeted by the warm glow of the dim bulbs. Maybe the lights had gone out? But even then, I should have been out of the tunnel hours ago by now. I started getting worried. I was confused. I had turned around, hadn't I? I remember taking that 3-point U-turn in the narrow tunnel. I'd been worried my SUV wouldn't even be able to make the turn and was relieved when it had. I grabbed my phone, but of course, no service. And who would I even call? My angry mother who would just chew me out for listening to a strange man at a gas station in the first place? I have no friends back home. I'm more inclined to spend my time alone. No relationships, besides an ex who wants me dead. I've only had myself for as long as I can remember. I left on this trip without telling anyone I was leaving, let alone where I'd be. Would anyone even notice I was lost? My mind was racing, looking for a solution as I kept driving. Luckily, my car is good on gas. I was still at a half a tank. I just kept going. What else was I supposed to do? After another 2 hours, I was desperate. My gas wouldn't last forever. It was dwindling fast, and when my car gave out, I wouldn't be able to charge my phone either. My only distraction for the void enveloping me was my downloaded Spotify playlists. I needed that to survive. I needed that so I didn't go crazy in here. Out of nowhere, while I was fiddling with my music, I saw a beacon of hope. One single bar. It popped up for a split second. I slammed on my brakes and reversed until I got to the sweet spot. At this point, I didn't care if my mother screamed at me so loud or damaged my phone's speaker. I needed to tell someone what was happening to me. I hovered over her contact for a few seconds before I sighed and clicked call. It didn't even ring, just a horrific beeping that signified no service. I rested my forehead on the steering wheel, tears starting to well. I wasn't going to get stuck out here. I couldn't. My brain wouldn't even consider that an option. I grabbed my phone and got out of the car. An eerie whistling from the wind blowing through the tunnel filled my ears. I climbed on top of my car. Maybe if I stood up here, I could get a call out. It didn't work. The same disheartening beeping rang out over and over, and I groaned. I could feel the anxiety building, my heart pounding against my chest. Then I heard something. It was faint at first, like someone trying to stifle a cough. I thought I imagined it. I stood there, listening. Then it happened again, louder. It sounded like a playful shout, like maybe a teenager exploring the tunnel, hooting and hollering with their friends. This is what my mind latched onto. Another sign of life meant I could get out of here. I shouted back, "Hey!" It echoed, bouncing off the cold rock walls, repeating over and over. Then it was uncannily quiet. The wind's whistling stopped and everything went still. All I could hear were my own panicked breaths. Then, footsteps. Hundreds of them. Running, thumping footsteps, coming from both directions. It shook the ground and made my car wobble. Pebbles tumbled off the walls. I've never felt so weak, so exposed. I damn near broke a bone jumping off of the roof of my car and stumbling into my driver's seat at what felt like the speed of light. I slammed the car door and locked it. I laid in my seat all the way back and pressed myself against it, wanting so badly to dissolve, to disappear. My car stopped swaying. The quiet returned. I laid there for what must have been an hour, maybe more. Tears caked my face and I couldn't stop shaking. I tried every breathing exercise my therapist had taught me. Nothing could calm me. What the actual fuck was that? I haven't moved. I'm still laying in my driver's seat, typing this. It's almost 4 a.m. I've been in this tunnel for almost 10 hours. I thought that maybe if I sat down and wrote out everything that's happened so far, it would help me understand. I still don't understand, but it is helping me to settle down. It's grounding me in my reality. Can someone please figure out where I am? Can someone tell me what's happening? How does the tunnel suddenly extend by miles? Did Gus know about this? Is that why he sent me here? I'm paranoid. What do I do from here? I don't want to get out of my car again. What if they find me? Why did they stop running to me? Did I imagine it in my hungry, exhausted state? I don't think continuing to drive is a good option. But it's really the only option. Eventually my gas is going to run out. Eventually my phone is going to die for good. I will starve or die of dehydration. I'm conserving the little food and drink I have as much as I can. I'm freaking out. I'm so thankful I bought these cigarettes. If anyone has any idea how I can get out of this, please tell me. I'll try anything. If anything else happens in here, I'll keep you updated. I pray to God this posts. I've been stuck driving in an endless highway tunnel for 32 hours. Hi, I'm still alive. Still in this godforsaken, dreary place. Thank you to everyone who replied to my post with advice, theories, anything. It's helping me feel less alone, reading and answering your comments. One thing that you guys suggested was that Gus may have laced something that I consumed. The snacks, the Red Bulls, the cigarettes, and as scary as that would be, I was praying for that to be the case. I was holding on to hope that I would wake up today somewhere else, that this whole thing would be a hallucination, brought on by some Nebraskan Hicks psychedelics. It wasn't. I fell asleep at like 8 this morning, kept awake all night by gripping fear. I woke up at 4 p.m. with a start, unsure if my terror was from something real or something I dreamed. Honestly, I'm usually awakened with a start. I've had chronic nightmares for as long as I can remember. I don't think my trepidation was caused by an outside force. Still, in the tunnel, feeling the same as I did yesterday. I don't think I was laced. Another response I kept seeing on my first post was that turning around was a mistake. If we take what Gus said literally, as many of you are, I have to continue through the tunnel to take me where I need to go. Maybe that's why the tunnel extended, keeping me inside until I turn back around. It wants to trick me. It's swallowing me like a pill. So when I woke up today, I turned back around, facing back through the tunnel, hopefully the correct way. My car was slowly running out of gas, less than a fourth of a tank. I've had a portable charger in my car, thank fuck, that I charged up as I drove. I need as much time with you all as I can get. I need to feel like I'm still connected to civilization. Every 10 to 15 miles down the tunnel, I would reach another service sweet spot, a split second of a bar before it disappeared once again. It's throwing me a bone. I watched as my gas sensor conspicuously made its way to E. I kept driving past empty for about 30 minutes until my car sputtered and came to a stop in the darkness. I'd been driving for about 3 hours. My car stopped near when I had turned around yesterday, I think. I sat there, unsure of what to do next. Even though in my heart and in my mind, I knew. Something I was dreading. I had to start walking. This must be what it wants. For me to be exposed. No longer protected by the steel frame of my SUV. No longer able to hide or speed away at a sign of danger. I was avoiding giving the tunnel what it wanted. I was terrified that as soon as I stepped out of my vehicle, I would be swarmed by whatever was running at me yesterday. But I had no other choice. I packed a bag with the necessary supplies, all of my food and drink, my portable charger, a blanket, some warm clothes, and a journal and pen in case my phone dies before I get out of here. I still want to be able to document my journey. I also grabbed my emergency flashlight and some extra batteries. I even found an old flare in my car's tool bag, which I took with me. And, of course, my cigarettes and a lighter. I sat there with my packed bag for a while, building up the courage to open my car door. I took a deep breath, counted down from 10, and on 1, I swung open my door and stepped out into the road. The wind's eerie whistling surrounded me once again. I pointed my flashlight all around me. It was cold, dark, and damp. Liquid pooled at the base of the rock walls. There was nothing to do but start walking, so I did. Leaving my precious vehicle behind was heartbreaking. That SUV is the one constant I have in my life right now. I walked and I walked. I knew that the last time I got a bar was about 2 miles before my car stopped. That meant in 8 miles or so, I would hit another sweet spot, and that's where I would rest. It'd probably take me about 3 hours of walking. My flashlight did hardly anything in the pitch black. I could see only about 10 feet in front of me, and only a small circle of light. The air felt heavy. It was getting hard to breathe. I jumped at every noise. Pebbles I'd happen to kick bouncing along the ground, water drip drops, even my own footsteps sometimes. I was constantly swiveling my light in all directions, glancing behind me every few seconds, even though I couldn't see shit. I felt like I was being watched, as cliche as it is. I walked for about an hour and a half, telling myself I was halfway to my resting point. I just had to keep pushing. I stopped for a second to retie my shoelaces. As I kneeled down, my flashlight fell out of my pocket and rolled to the other side of the tunnel, light aiming behind me. I watched the light as it rolled. The flashlight hit the wall opposite me with a metallic clink. The beam of light illuminated something pressed against the wall, about 10 feet behind me. A black shadow stood out against the shiny gray rock. It looked like the shape of a person, though elongated and wrong somehow. Someone standing with their face pressed against the wall, arms at their side. I inhaled sharply, trying to act as though I didn't see anything. I didn't want to acknowledge the shape. We all remember what happened the last time I acknowledged a presence in this tunnel. I quickly finished tying my shoes and ran across the tunnel to grab my flashlight. I picked it up and continued briskly walking, away from the figure, away from the menacing mass that stuck to the rock like moss. My heart started racing once again, pounding so hard I worried the sound would echo. Was I being followed? And by what? I kept moving. It almost felt like I was floating. My legs were getting numb from the cold and the trek. I made it to my rest point without another incident. I put on a sweater and sat on the ground, my back against the tunnel wall, wrapping myself in my blanket. The bar had appeared like a sign from God, and I started reading more of your comments just to hear from someone. I guess eventually I started to hum. It's a habit that my mother had tried beating out of me when I was younger, but no amount of pummeling could stop the music in me. It was always random tunes that I couldn't really place. This time was no different. I hadn't even noticed the melody vibrating in my throat, not until I heard it, faintly, from my left, further down the tunnel, the way I had walked from. I stopped my humming, but the tune didn't cease. It kept repeating, and I grew more restless each time. A panic crept over me. I listened intently and realized it didn't even necessarily sound human. It sounded forced, like whatever was repeating my humming had never hummed before. Crackling, gritty, hoarse. Then more joined in, from both directions. A distorted choir I couldn't see was repeating my nonsensical tune over and over. I started imagining what these pitiful tunnel demons could possibly look like. Did they appear as human, like I thought the shadow was? Or were they more animalistic? Would my death be quick at their hands? The humming was converging on me, getting closer and closer. I turned off my flashlight and threw my blanket over my head, curling up into a ball, like a toddler avoiding the monster under their bed. I lay there, with my eyes closed, focusing on my breathing. In for 6, hold for 6, out for 6. Just like my therapist taught me. The ground trembled, the pebbles skittered around me, The wind picked up speed. After about 5 minutes, the humming came to an abrupt halt. Everything quieted, suddenly. A single set of footsteps was approaching me, slowly. I was shaking as I heard the figure coming up on me. I remained under my blanket, pressed against the ground and the wall. I scrunched my eyes closed and pictured myself somewhere, anywhere else. The footsteps stopped right in front of me. I sensed the figure lean down. I could hear it breathing directly above me. If this was it, this was it. I accepted my fate. Drops of what I assumed was drool splattered onto the blanket. I heard something lick its lips. I held my breath and thought of every horrible thing I had done throughout my life, and how I would never be able to fix it. How I never made amends with so many of the people I harmed. How my mother probably wouldn't even notice I was dead. And if she did, she'd probably be relieved. Obviously, whatever it was didn't kill me. It stood there, above me, salivating and clicking its tongue for a long, long time. Somehow, I fucking fell asleep. Wake up! I was still wrapped in the blanket, clutching my flashlight and my phone. I had been awakened by that harsh whisper shout that rang in my ears. Like when someone screams in a dream and it continues long after you open your eyes. I listened, but I heard nothing more. I slowly lifted the edge of the blanket and peeked out. My eyes began adjusting to the darkness, and I couldn't see any ominous shapes in my immediate vicinity. I bit my tongue and turned on my flashlight, slowly lifting the blanket off of myself and shining my light in all directions. Nothing. Are they toying with me? Maybe they're like Stephen King's It. Maybe they want me to be afraid before they eat me so I taste better. Are they even real? I saw that shape in the tunnel, but maybe it was a trick of light. I heard the humming and I felt that figure looming over me. Maybe it was all in my head. My mother always told me I was beyond help, that my paranoid tendencies would take over me until they killed me. Maybe that's all that's happening now. I keep trying to tell myself that none of this is real, that I'm just going crazy from hunger and exhaustion and cold and isolation. It's getting harder to convince myself of that, though, especially now that I notice the dozen or so drops of blood littering my blanket. I think I slept for like 2 hours. It's almost 2 a.m. I'm about to start the 3-hour walk to my next resting point, my next bar. I have to keep moving. Until I can get back online, I'm hoping some of you can help me. I don't think there's any point in figuring out exactly where I am. I don't want anybody else coming in here after me. I don't know if this tunnel is even real at this point. But maybe you guys can give me some ideas on how to proceed. Should I confront the figures the next time they make themselves known? Maybe acknowledging them is the only way I can get out of here. Maybe I have to face my fears. What could they be? Ghosts? Souls trapped in this tunnel waiting for it to capture me next? Demons? Monsters? Deranged mountain people? Has anyone encountered or heard something like this before? I have a lot of time to think in here. I've been running through every possible scenario. Anyways, thanks for being here. Even if you can't offer me any guidance, just interacting with me is helping me feel more sane. Hopefully, you hear from me again. I've been stuck in an endless highway tunnel for 7 days. Day 4. Phone died. I think batteries drain faster in here. I don't know what time it is. No way to tell. I didn't come across any more service spots after the last post I made anyway. I'm writing in my journal to keep me sane. I'm writing in my journal to keep me sane. I'm not dead yet. I am not dead yet. I am not dead yet. I saw the creatures last night after I walked for hours, maybe even days. They were suddenly illuminated by my flashlight in the dark, lining the sides of the tunnel. Just watching me. At least I think. They didn't have eyes. Probably evolved to be rid of them after the centuries in the tunnel, maybe? They hummed my tune again, softly, almost indistinguishable from the whistling of the wind. They were human-like, but dark gray, veiny, skinny, tall. Limbs slightly too long. Again, no eyes, and just small holes for a nose and ears. Where was the mouth? The mouth. The mouth. The mouth. I walked past them all. Backs pressed flat against the tunnel walls with their arms pinned to their sides. I passed hundreds of them, noticing more and more features, Huge flat feet planted firmly to the ground, long sharp fingernails on fingers with at least 5 knuckles. One on its own, standing in the middle of the tunnel, blocking my path. Its back to me. I stopped. Should I speak? I stood there watching it for some time, debating what I should do. I turned around. All of those things were now facing towards me, leaning, peering around each other. Their humming grew louder. I looked back to the one standing in front of me. It, too, faced me now. I gasped, overtaken by its putrid gasoline smell and its slimy, featureless face. Then, its face started splitting. Its skin was pulling, ripping apart. Dark blood oozed as its flesh tore. The mouth. The mouth. The mouth. It opened wide, and I looked inside. Look inside. Look inside. Look inside. I saw everything. The answer. Day 5. I'm writing in my journal to keep me sane. I'm writing in my journal to keep me sane. I'm writing in my journal to keep me sane. I'm going crazy in here. Never-ending darkness, the same tunnel walls, the same puddles and pebbles, the same strange noises echoing through this hollow tomb. Get me out! Get me out! I'm afraid I've seen too much. They won't let me leave now that I know things. I know what they are, what I am, what we are. Collective consciousness. Nothing matters. Everything is meaningless. Or is everything full of meaning? I'm not making any sense. I need to conserve my light. Day 6. I understand now. I cannot leave. This is where I am meant to be. I ended up here for a reason. They never wanted to hurt me. They wanted to show me. I am more than this body, this life. I am more than a lost drifter, constantly searching for meaning, for a place I belong. I was right. We are all connected. Except we aren't living parallel lives. We are all living the same life in different universes. In one universe, we are me, and in another, we are you. We are everyone, all at once. When I looked inside, the mouth, the mouth, the mouth. I saw everything. I saw every human experience, everything you've ever done, everything anyone's ever done. I possess the knowledge that comes with having billions upon billions of life experiences. All of you have it too. You just need to look inside. You just need to look inside. You just need to look inside. Look inside. Day 7. I walk with them now. We hum together. April 30th. My daughter's body was found by a hunter and his 2 young sons. She was somewhere in a Nebraskan wildlife management area. Poor kids were traumatized. June was troubled. She dealt with paranoid delusions and manic depressive episodes throughout her life. She would often disappear for weeks at a time. I worried, of course. I always did. But after so many times, so many calls to the cops, only for her to show up weeks later, the reports became routine. Empty words to them. By the 15th time, they stopped taking me seriously. I don't blame them. June was lost. A lonely, sick young woman who wandered the planet like a ghost. Please, don't go looking for this tunnel she was so obsessed with in her final days. There was no goddamn tunnel near her body. She was found dead in the woods, leaning against a tree. Her car, still missing. She had gouged out her eyes with her bare hands. She had broken her own jaw, so her mouth hung open wide. Beside her, her journal. The entries I uploaded here. Maybe they'll give you closure. Maybe they'll stop you from thinking she's still out there. Stop you from looking. It was only a matter of time. I'm just glad June finally felt connected to something when she passed. I feel connected too. Ever since I identified her body at the morgue. Ever since I saw the mouth, the mouth, the mouth. Ever since I looked inside. And that was I've been stuck in an endless highway tunnel for 10 hours, 32 hours, and 7 days. By Snotty Rocket. Now, I didn't realize this was a series when I first requested access to cover this, but I'm so glad it ended up being one, because I was able to I really hope you guys enjoyed my idea of splitting up kind of the 3 ways to make it feel like it's a little bit more stretched out. And I think it just kind of really added credence to this horrific thing. Almost like you're finding like a weird journal over a period of time, right? It's telling a great story. So I like the fact that you've got a horrific highway tunnel. Not the first time we've heard about a horrific highway tunnel of mysterious, crazy shit. But it's always nice to see them kind of really taking advantage of that. I think it's a great little medium of just bizarre shenanigans going on where there might be something that makes sense, but it's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. For all we know, it could just be kind of like it could be like a Dawn to Dawn situation where basically a lady lives in a creepy ass tunnel, like Inunaki Tunnel, for example. And yeah, I don't know. It's a little different, I suppose, because it's not exactly an endless tunnel. But I suppose she could make it endless, being a crazy yokai herself. I suppose there could be yokai in the story. It could be some other kind of malevolent spirit force. It could be some kind of like internal manifestation conflict thing. I think there's a number of ways that this story could really be interpreted. I think it's amazing. I think it's really, really amazing. The part where she was thinking about talking to the one on its own, and the others like all she turned around, the rest were like looking at her as well. That reminded me of one of my first ever and favorite horror video games ever, called Condemned Criminal Origins. Is this amazing scene where you're in like I don't even remember. I think it was like a mall or something like that. But basically, there's these mannequins. It was the first time I ever got to experience mannequins like following you and being really weird. But yet again, only when you're not looking at them. It was just like, oh, amazing, really, really good shit. But this is like an original Xbox. It was ages ago. Anyway, gushing aside, this story's, what does there really say? It's got a lot of interesting, great detail. It kind of keeps the focus where you want it to be. How it's like a little bit of like the survivor mentality, trying to figure out what's going on and what they're supposed to do. Having I feel like where they also have a bit of an interaction with Redditors as well. So it's got a little bit of inside fourth wall interaction going on. But, ultimately, I love how the journal kind of just delves further into this madness. It's almost like they are brainwashed in a sense, right? And you don't really find out what else happens. Probably turns into one of these creatures. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe for all we know, it's part of how the system works. For all we know, maybe the whole tunnel's alive. We don't really know. But I like the fact that we later on get a report from the mother in the same story. And it's, just so cool. So cool. And then, you find out that she had to go to the morgue and like identify the body and stuff. And now she's somehow been contaminated, shall we say. God, no, I really, really enjoyed this story. I thought it was super fun. I really like being able to cover something that has multiple parts. That way I can kind of spread it out a little bit. I can make it feel a little bit more immersive in a way. I thought this was awesome. Snotty Rocket, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this amazing story and this amazing opportunity to be able to bring a voice to it. Or my voice, anyway. I'm selfish. No, this was awesome. This was really, really fun. It's given me potential ideas for my own stuff that I'm working on. But hush, hush. I'm not quite ready to reveal those things yet. Anyway, what has this made me think of? Well, besides obviously the specific scene in Condemned Criminal Origins, the classic one is any movie or game, which there are tons of games that like to utilize the idea of like when you're not looking at something, that is when it moves. There's countless. God, I can't think of them off the top of my head besides obviously Condemned Criminal Origins, but I know everybody out there knows them. I know we all know. I think that the last one I played that had that element was Very Scary Backrooms. The fucking goofy ass skeletons. It's very funny. Let me know down in the comments below what other games where that mechanic is very much used, because I know there's shit tons. I've seen it tons of times. Little Nightmares 2. Little Nightmares 2 had kind of mannequin-y weird creatures that kind of did that. But you could still see them on the screen. It's just whatever your character was looking at. Whatever. Yeah, let me know down below. When it comes to like movies or anything, I am not sure. I'm sure there's movies about creepy highway tunnels. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. Yeah, I really can't. That's weird. Or about mannequins. I suppose there probably are some about mannequins, but yeah, yet again, for some reason, they're not coming to me because it was the very specific things that jumped out to me right away. Sorry, I've also been playing Claire Obscure Expedition 33, and so my mind, for some reason, thinking of these creatures, thinks of like the Curator. Really strange. I'm not sure why that keeps popping in my head for some reason. Yeah. Let me know down in the comments below what this made you think of, and maybe some really cool ideas, things like that. I'd really like to hear from you guys. It's always nice having a little bit of comments, a little bit of a repertoire going. This has been it's been fun. It's been really fun. I've been Nate at Night, and I've had a wonderful time, and I sure hope you have too. Let me know how you doing, and we will see you next time. Cheers, guys. Shout out to these cool peeps. Seriously, we wouldn't have got this far without them. You're all amazing. I love you all so much. Honestly, it's tremendous work you do. Supporting the channel, keeping us afloat. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You too could become a cool peep for just $1 a month. What that's going to get you is 2 weeks early access to future videos. It's also going to get you exclusive members-only content. And there might be extra goodies coming along the way. What can I say? I'm just charitable like that. You can also show your support by tipping through either Super Chats, Super Thanks, both on YouTube, or through my Streamlabs.com URL, which will be in the description of future videos below. Cheers for now, guys.